And that, class, is why humans are strictly forbidden from participating in galactic warfare, Professor Zix-9 concluded, his tentacles waving dramatically. A blue blob-like student in the back raised a gelatinous appendage. But Professor, I thought humans were banned because they're primitive and weak. What's the real reason? The professor's eye stalks twitched nervously. Well, Blorbax, it's complicated. Complicated how? Chirped Kiki, a bird-like creature perched on her desk. Either they're a threat or they're not. Which is it? Professor Zix-9 sighed, a sound like air escaping from a balloon. Very well. I suppose you're old enough to know the truth. It all started with the Great Zorblaxian War of 3576. The class leaned forward, or at least those with the ability to lean did so. The rest just kind of squished in anticipation. The Zorblaxians, thinking themselves clever, decided to recruit a few humans to their side, as cannon fodder. The professor chuckled, a dry, rattling sound. Oh, how wrong they were. Blorbax burbled excitedly. Did the humans get vaporized instantly? If only, Zix-9 muttered. No, what happened next was, well, let's just say it redefined the term overkill. The students exchanged confused glances, which for some species involved literally removing and swapping eyeballs. You see, the professor continued, humans have this quaint little concept called war crimes. Most species simply fight until one side is dead or surrenders. Humans? They made a list of things that are too mean to do in war. Kiki tilted her head. That sounds noble? Zix-9 let out a bark of laughter. Oh, you sweet summer hatchling. No, you're missing the point. They made a list, and then they did everything not on that list. A collective gasp rippled through the classroom, causing a minor gravitational disturbance. While the Zorblaxians were busy congratulating themselves on their new primitive allies, the humans were already 3 steps ahead. They didn't just fight the war, they scienced the hell out of it. Scienced? Blorbax bubbled incredulously. Is that even a word? It is now, the professor said grimly. The humans took one look at our standard-issue plasma rifles and said, "Neat toy, watch this." Next thing we knew, they were weaponizing black holes. Kiki's feathers stood on end. But that's impossible. Oh, my dear student, Zix-9 sighed. When it comes to humans, the word impossible is more of a dare than a limitation. They call it thinking outside the box. We call it breaking the laws of physics and common decency. The class sat in stunned silence, trying to process this information. Well, most of them sat. Blorbax kind of oozed thoughtfully. But surely, a robotic student beeped from the front row, our superior numbers would have— Numbers? The professor interrupted with a hysterical giggle. Oh, you poor, naive calculator. Humans don't care about numbers. They care about stories. One of their military leaders once said, "Quantity has a quality all its own." The humans took that as a personal challenge to prove him wrong. The robot's circuits nearly fried trying to compute that logic. Before we knew it, Zix-9 continued, his voice dropping to a whisper. They'd turned our own technology against us. Remember that shiny new faster-than-light drive we were so proud of? They weaponized it. How do you weaponize FTL travel? Kiki asked, both fascinated and horrified. The professor's eye stalks drooped. They called it the Yeet Cannon. Don't ask me what Yeet means. I'm pretty sure it translates to war crime in their language. Blorbax burbled nervously. But we're safe now, right? The humans are contained on their homeworld? Zix-9 laughed, a sound devoid of any joy. Oh, my sweet summer blob. Contained? They agreed to stay on their planet. Said something about taking a break to binge-watch all of Netflix. I don't know what that means, but it sounds ominous. The class collectively shuddered, causing a small earthquake in the lecture hall. So, children, the professor concluded, his tentacles drooping with fatigue. The next time someone tells you humans are banned from galactic warfare because they're weak, remember this. We didn't ban them. We begged them to stop. And may the cosmic forces have mercy on us all if they ever get bored with their Netflix and decide to come out and play again. As the students filed out of the classroom, still dazed from the revelation, Professor Zix-9 couldn't shake the feeling that somewhere out there, on a little blue planet, a human was smiling. And that thought terrified him more than any black hole ever could. Zix-9 slumped into his chair, his tentacles massaging his throbbing cranial sacs. He'd probably said too much, but the students needed to know. The galactic rumor mill was getting out of hand, and the last thing anyone needed was some hotshot young alien trying to prove themselves by picking a fight with humanity. A soft chime interrupted his brooding. "Incoming transmission from Earth," his desk computer announced. The professor froze, all 7 of his heart skipping a beat. With trembling appendages, he accepted the call. A human face appeared on the screen, grinning from ear to ear. "Hey, Prof! Long time no see." Zix-9's eye stalks twisted into knots. "Captain Rodriguez? To what do I owe this pleasure?" The human's smile widened, if that was even possible. "Oh, just checking in on my favorite xenoanthropology professor. How are the kids? Still filling their heads with horror stories about us big bad humans?" I don't know what you mean," Zix-9 stammered, his chromatophores cycling through a panicked rainbow. Rodriguez laughed, a sound that sent shivers down the professor's spinal ridge. "Come on, Prof. We both know you've got the classroom bugged. Standard procedure, right? Gotta keep an eye on the next generation of potential threats?" Zix-9 deflated like a punctured balloon. "How long have you known?" "Since we installed it for you," Rodriguez winked. "That Faraday cage? Pure human tech, baby. We just love our little jokes." The professor's mind reeled. All this time they'd thought they were being clever, keeping tabs on potential threats. And the humans had just let them? For fun? "But why?" Zix-9 managed to croak. Rodriguez's expression softened, just a fraction. "Look, Prof, we get it. We scare the living daylights out of you guys. And honestly, that's probably for the best. Keeps everyone on their toes, So you're not planning to what? Conquer the galaxy? Please," Rodriguez scoffed. "Do you have any idea how much paperwork that would involve?" "Nah, we're good where we are. Got plenty to keep us busy." Zix-9's tentacles unclenched slightly. "The Netflix you mentioned?" "Among other things," Rodriguez nodded. "Did you know we've started colonizing our own solar system? Mars is coming along nicely. We've even got plans for Europa." The professor's eyes widened in horror. "But that's a protected celestial body. The Galactic Council explicitly forbade interfering with potential alien life. Yeah. Rodriguez waved dismissively. "But here's the thing, Prof. We are the alien life. To Europa, at least. It's all about perspective." Zix-9 felt a migraine coming on. This was why dealing with humans was so maddening. They didn't just think outside the box. They folded the box into an origami swan and used it as a hat. "Anyway," Rodriguez continued cheerfully, "just wanted to give you a heads up. We're thinking of sending a delegation to the next Galactic Council meeting. Shake things up a bit." The professor's coloration drained to a sickly pale. "But the ban? Oh, that old thing?" Rodriguez grinned. "We're not coming as a military force. We're coming as... what did you call it? Ah, yes. Primitive allies. Just a bunch of harmless humans, eager to learn from our advanced galactic neighbors." Zix-9 knew that look. It was the same look humans had right before they turned a black hole into a game of cosmic golf. "Don't worry, Prof," Rodriguez said, his tone suspiciously soothing. "We'll be on our best behavior. Scout's honor." He held up his hand in a gesture that Zix-9 was pretty sure meant something very different in human culture. As the transmission ended, Professor Zix-9 stared blankly at the screen. Humans were coming to the Galactic Council. Humans, with their terrifying creativity and their blatant disregard for the laws of physics and common sense. He needed a drink. Several drinks. Possibly all the drinks in the galaxy. As he stumbled out of his office, he couldn't shake the feeling that the universe was about to get a lot more interesting. And in the grand cosmic scheme of things, interesting was the most terrifying prospect of all. Somewhere in the depths of space, a black hole hiccuped. And if Zix-9 didn't know better, he could have sworn it sounded like human laughter. 3 Galactic Standard weeks later, Professor Zix-9 found himself fidgeting nervously in the grand atrium of the Galactic Council headquarters. The place was abuzz with activity, representatives from thousands of species mingling in a cacophony of clicks, whistles, and pheromone releases. "Can you believe it?" chirped Kiki, who had somehow finagled her way into being Zix-9's assistant for the event. "Actual humans, here!" The professor's tentacles twisted into knots. "Yes, isn't it wonderful?" he managed, his voice dripping with the kind of enthusiasm usually reserved for root canal procedures. A hush fell over the crowd as the main doors swung open. In strode the human delegation, looking for all the world like they were just popping down to the corner store for milk, instead of attending the most important political gathering in the galaxy. Leading the pack was none other than Captain Rodriguez, sporting a grin that could probably be seen from orbit. "Sup, nerds?" he called out, his voice echoing through the suddenly silent chamber. Zix-9 felt his chromatophores cycling through 50 shades of mortified. An arachnoid diplomat scuttled forward, mandibles clacking nervously. "Welcome, esteemed human delegates. We are honored by your presence." Rodriguez's grin impossibly widened. "Aw, shucks. We're just happy to be here. Love what you've done with the place. Very spacey." The arachnoid's compound eyes blinked in confusion. Thank you." As the humans spread out, mingling with the other delegates, Zix-9 couldn't shake the feeling that he was watching a disaster unfold in slow motion. He sidled up to Rodriguez, trying to keep his voice low. "Captain, I must insist that you—" "Prof!" Rodriguez boomed, slapping Zix-9 on what he hoped was the alien's back. "Great to see you in the flesh. Or whatever it is you've got under there." The professor winced. "Yes, well, about the council meeting." "Oh, don't you worry your pretty little eye stalks about that," Rodriguez said with a wink. "We've got it all under control. In fact, we've brought a little presentation. You're gonna love it." Zix-9's heart sank. The last time humans had given a presentation, it had ended with 3 uninhabited solar systems being turned into an impromptu fireworks display. As the council members took their seats, Rodriguez sauntered to the center of the chamber. "Esteemed delegates of the galaxy," he began, his voice taking on an uncharacteristically formal tone. "We come before you today with a proposal that will change the face of galactic politics forever." The chamber held its collective breath, or released spores, or whatever the various species did when they were anxious. Rodriguez paused for dramatic effect, then said, "We want to join your Space Olympics." For a moment, there was silence. Then chaos erupted. "Preposterous!" bellowed a Jovian gas being. "Unthinkable!" shrieked a collective of psychic jellyfish. "What's an Olympic?" asked a confused sentient rock. Rodriguez held up his hands, waiting for the commotion to die down. Now, I know what you're thinking. But humans, you're barely out of your own solar system. How could you possibly compete?" Zix-9 felt a headache coming on. That was not, in fact, what anyone was thinking. They were all too busy having collective panic attacks. "Well," Rodriguez continued, "we've been practicing, and we think we're ready for the big leagues. Plus, we've got a few new events to suggest." He pulled out a small device and projected a hologram into the center of the chamber. It showed a human in a spacesuit, riding what appeared to be a... "Is that a black hole?" Kiki whispered, her feathers standing on end. "We call it cosmic surfing," Rodriguez said proudly. "First one to ride the event horizon without getting spaghettified wins!" The arachnoid diplomat's mandibles clacked rapidly. But that's impossible, and highly illegal, and... "Awesome?" Rodriguez suggested. "Yeah, we thought so too. Oh, and wait till you see our plans for the neutron star javelin throw. It's gonna be lit, literally." As the chamber descended into pandemonium, with delegates either fainting, molting in stress, or attempting to call their lobbyists, Zix-9 caught Rodriguez's eye. The human winked. "Told you we'd be on our best behavior, Prof. This is us playing nice." And in that moment, as he watched the most powerful beings in the galaxy reduced to a squabbling mess by a few humans and their insane ideas, Professor Zix-9 had a revelation. The galaxy hadn't banned humans from warfare because they were too dangerous. They'd done it because humans made everything else look boring in comparison. As he slumped in his seat, watching Rodriguez field questions about the safety protocols for quasar quad racing, Zix-9 couldn't help but wonder. Was the galaxy ready for humanity's special brand of chaos? Probably not, but it was certainly going to be one hell of a show. As the Galactic Council chamber devolved into a chaotic mess of shouting, fainting, and impromptu molting, Professor Zix-9 found himself being pulled aside by a grinning Captain Rodriguez. "Come on, Prof," the human said, his eyes twinkling with mischief. "Let's blow this popsicle stand. I've got something to show you." Before Zix-9 could protest, he was being dragged out of the chamber, his tentacles flailing helplessly. They made their way through winding corridors, passing bewildered aliens left and right. "Where are we going?" the professor managed to sputter. Rodriguez's grin widened. "To the parking lot, of course." Zix-9's eye stalks twisted in confusion. "The what?" They burst through a set of doors into what appeared to be a massive hangar. Rows upon rows of sleek spacecraft stretched as far as the eye could see. And there, in the middle of it all, sat something that made Zix-9's heart skip several beats. It was a ship, but unlike anything the professor had ever seen. It looked like someone had taken a classic Earth muscle car, stuffed it full of impossible technology, and then decided it wasn't ridiculous enough and added wings. "Meet the SS Hot Wheels," Rodriguez said proudly, patting the vehicle's gleaming hood. "Our latest in completely unnecessary but totally awesome transportation technology." Zix-9 stared, his mouth agape. "But how, what?" "Oh, this baby?" Rodriguez chuckled. "She's powered by pure audacity, with a side of quantum improbability. 0 to light speed in 3.7 seconds. And check this out." He pressed a button, and suddenly the car ship was blasting what Zix-9 recognized as ancient Earth rock music at an ear-splitting volume. The professor winced, his sensory organs overwhelmed. Is that legal?" Rodriguez shrugged. "Probably not, but hey, that's never stopped us before. Want to take her for a spin?" Before Zix-9 could formulate a response, which would have been a resounding no in at least 17 different languages, they were interrupted by the arrival of Kiki, who came barreling into the hangar, her feathers in disarray. "Professor," she squawked, "the council, they're losing their minds?" Rodriguez suggested helpfully. Kiki nodded frantically. "They're calling for an emergency vote, something about preemptively surrendering to humanity to avoid any future cosmic sports-related incidents." Zix-9 felt faint. This was it, the end of galactic civilization as they knew it, all because humans couldn't resist turning the universe into their personal playground. Rodriguez, however, looked thoughtful. Didn't see that coming. Usually takes at least 3 of our presentations before anyone starts waving the white flag. You planned this?" Zix-9 sputtered incredulously. The human captain had the decency to look slightly abashed. "Well, not exactly. We were kinda hoping for a nice, friendly sports competition. You know, show off a little, make some new friends. Maybe accidentally rewrite the laws of physics once or twice. The usual." Kiki's beak fell open. "The usual?" "Yeah, you know," Rodriguez waved dismissively. "Like that time we turned Jupiter into a giant mood ring, or when we used a pulsar to send Morse code messages across the galaxy. Just good, clean fun." Zix-9 felt a migraine coming on. "Captain, I don't think you understand the gravity of the situation. The Galactic Council is in chaos. Centuries of carefully cultivated diplomacy are unraveling as we speak, and all because you wanted to spice things up a bit?" Rodriguez offered. "Yeah, we tend to have that effect, but look on the bright side, Prof. At least no one's at war, right?" The professor had to admit, grudgingly, that the human had a point. The galaxy was in an uproar, yes, but not a violent one. More like a very confused, slightly terrified, but oddly exhilarated one. Suddenly, alarms began blaring throughout the hangar. Rodriguez's eyes lit up. "Ooh, sounds like the after-party's starting. Come on, you two. Let's go see what kind of trouble we can get into now." As they raced back towards the council chamber, Zix-9 found himself wondering, not for the first time, if perhaps the universe wouldn't have been better off if humans had just stayed on their little blue planet, binge-watching their Netflix. But then again, as he watched Rodriguez charm a group of silicon-based lifeforms with promises of extreme terraforming sports, the professor realized something. The galaxy might never be the same again, but maybe, just maybe, that wasn't such a bad thing. After all, as the humans like to say, why shoot for the stars when you can surf a black hole to get there? And so, as the Galactic Council prepared to welcome its newest, most chaotic members, Professor Zix-9 braced himself for a future that was bound to be many things. Terrifying, exhilarating, and above all, never, ever boring. The age of humanity had begun. May the cosmos have mercy on us all. As Rodriguez led the way back to the council chamber, Zix-9 and Kiki trailing behind like bewildered ducklings, the professor couldn't shake the feeling that the universe was about to tilt on its axis. Again, they burst through the doors to find a scene that could only be described as orderly chaos. Delegates from 1,000 worlds were engaged in heated debates, tentacles waving, antennae twitching, and in one notable case, a gaseous being was changing colors so rapidly it looked like a sentient disco ball. At the center of it all stood a human woman, her silver hair tied back in a no-nonsense bun, calmly addressing the assembly as if she were discussing the weather rather than the fate of galactic civilization. "Ah, there you are, Rod," she called out as they entered. "I was beginning to think you'd taken the scenic route through a wormhole or something." Rodriguez grinned. "Nah, just showing the prof here our new ride. Ambassador Chen, meet Professor Zix-9 and his assistant Kiki. Guys, meet the reason we haven't accidentally conquered half the galaxy yet." Ambassador Chen rolled her eyes. "Flattery will get you everywhere, Captain. Now, if you don't mind, I'm in the middle of averting an interstellar incident." Zix9 blinked in confusion. But I thought, the surrender? Chen waved dismissively. Oh, that. Minor misunderstanding. Turns out surrender in Arcturian sign language looks a lot like let's party in Betelgeusian interpretive dance. We've sorted it out now. Mostly, added a nearby translator droid, who looked like it was one paradox away from a total systems crash. Rodriguez clapped his hands together. Great. So, what'd we miss? Any takers on the neutron star javelin throw? Before Chen could answer, a booming voice echoed through the chamber. We accept your challenge, humans! All eyes turned to see a massive tentacled being slithering forward. It was Ambassador Krolex of the Cephalopodian Collective, known across the galaxy for their unparalleled spatial awareness and ability to multitask with up to 27 limbs simultaneously. Krolex's eyes, all 17 of them, gleamed with excitement. Your cosmic sports intrigue us. We propose a contest, our best against yours. If we win, you agree to tone down your enthusiasm for galactic remodeling. Rodriguez's eyebrows shot up. And if we win, the Cephalopodian's tentacles writhed in what might have been a shrug. Name your price, human. A hush fell over the chamber as everyone waited for Rodriguez's response. Zix9 felt his heart racing. This was it, the moment that would decide the fate of the galaxy. Would the humans demand unlimited access to restricted technology? The rights to terraform uninhabited worlds? A monopoly on black hole manipulation? Rodriguez stroked his chin thoughtfully, then broke into a wide grin. If we win, you have to host the next intergalactic barbecue cook-off. The silence that followed was so profound you could have heard a quark drop. What? Krulk sputtered, tentacles twitching in confusion. You heard me, Rodriguez said, his grin widening. We're talking the biggest, baddest, most delicious gathering this side of the Andromeda. Every species invited, no dietary restriction left behind. We'll even throw in some recipes for squid dishes. You know, as a cultural exchange. Ambassador Chen pinched the bridge of her nose, muttering something that sounded suspiciously like, "This is why we can't have nice solar systems." Krollex, however, seemed intrigued. A culinary contest, instead of military might or technological supremacy? Rodriguez shrugged. Why not? You haven't lived until you've tried baby back ribs slow-cooked in the radiative heat of a blue supergiant. As the Cephalopodian considered this, murmurs of interest began to ripple through the crowd. Other species were chiming in, offering their own culinary specialties and suggesting potential venue planets. Zix9 watched in amazement as the earlier tension dissolved into excited chatter about marinades and grilling techniques. Even Kiki was getting into it, eagerly describing something called a seed cake to a group of silicon-based life forms. You planned this, didn't you? The professor asked Rodriguez quietly. The captain winked. Let's just say we've found that nothing brings people together quite like the promise of good food and a killer party. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to go explain the concept of s'mores to a hive mind. This could take a while. As Rodriguez waded into the crowd, now buzzing with excitement over the prospect of an intergalactic potluck, Zix9 felt a strange sensation wash over him. It took him a moment to recognize it. Hope. Maybe, just maybe, the humans' chaotic approach to galactic diplomacy wasn't so bad after all. After all, who would have time for war when there were recipes to exchange and barbecue techniques to perfect? As he watched Ambassador Chen calmly negotiating the terms of the cook-off, including a strict no sentient ingredients clause, Zix9 couldn't help but chuckle. The galaxy might never be the same, but at least it would be well fed. And who knows, maybe somewhere out there, amid the vast cosmic barbecue that the universe was about to become, they'd finally find the answer to life, the universe, and everything, or at least the perfect marinade for Arcturian mega shrimp. It was a start. As the Galactic Council chamber buzzed with excitement over the upcoming intergalactic barbecue cook-off, Professor Zix9 found himself swept up in a whirlwind of activity. Somehow, he'd been appointed to the Xenobiological Dietary Concerns Subcommittee, a position he wasn't entirely sure he'd volunteered for. Now, about the methane breathers from Epsilon Eridani, Kiki chirped, scrolling through a holographic checklist. Do we put them near the plasma grills or the cryogenic coolers? Zix9's tentacles nodded in concentration. Neither. Let's seat them next to the silicon-based life forms. They can bond over their shared love of rock music and inability to digest organic matter. Meanwhile, across the room, Captain Rodriguez was engaged in what appeared to be an intense debate with a group of energy beings from the Crab Nebula. Look, he was saying, gesturing wildly. I get that you guys don't technically eat in the traditional sense, but trust me, you haven't lived until you've tried to absorb the essence of a perfectly smoked brisket. One of the energy beings flickered in what might have been confusion. But Captain, we sustain ourselves on pure radiation. How could this brisket possibly— Rodriguez interrupted, waggling a finger. That's quitter talk. We'll figure it out. Maybe we can irradiate it or something. I know a guy with a particle accelerator who owes me a favor. Ambassador Chen, overhearing this, quickly interjected. What the captain means is that we'll work closely with your nutritionists to ensure a safe and enjoyable experience for all attendees. As the preparations continued, more and more species began to get into the spirit of things. The hive mind of Beta Centauri offered to handle logistics, boasting that they could coordinate 1 million drones to create the galaxy's largest buffet line. The chronovores of the temporal expanse suggested a dishes throughout history theme, promising to retrieve extinct delicacies from various extinct civilizations. After a stern reminder about the no sentient ingredients rule, of course. Even the notoriously standoffish void dwellers, beings composed entirely of dark matter, expressed interest in attending. When asked how they planned to participate in a food-based event, their ambassador simply replied, "We'll bring the dark chocolate," before disappearing in a puff of gravitational lensing. As the day wore on, Zix-9 found himself actually enjoying the chaos. There was something oddly refreshing about seeing the galaxy's most powerful beings argue passionately about marinade recipes and grill temperatures, instead of territorial disputes and arms races. You know, he mused to Kiki as they took a break from planning, maybe the humans are onto something here. Kiki tilted her head curiously. What do you mean, Professor? Zix-9 waved a tentacle at the bustling crowd. Look at them. Yesterday, half of these species wouldn't even acknowledge each other's existence. Now they're swapping recipes and arguing about the best way to caramelize sugar in zero gravity. It is rather remarkable, Kiki agreed, her feathers ruffling in amusement, though I'm still not sure about the humans' insistence on something called a karaoke contest after the main event. Before Zix-9 could respond, they were interrupted by a commotion near the center of the chamber. Ambassador Kurlex of the Cephalopodian Collective was engaged in what appeared to be an arm wrestling match with Rodriguez. Or rather, a tentacle wrestling match. If I win, Kurlex was saying, multiple eyes narrowed in concentration, you have to agree to let us host the dessert portion of the event in the gravity well of a neutron star. The density variations will create flavor profiles unlike anything in the known universe. Rodriguez, his face red with exertion, managed to grin. And if I win, you have to try my Aunt Mabel's 5-alarm chili. Don't worry, we'll provide fire extinguishers. As the two continued their good-natured struggle, with various alien dignitaries cheering them on, Zix-9 felt a tap on his shoulder. He turned to find Ambassador Chen standing beside him, a wry smile on her face. Quite a spectacle, isn't it? She said, nodding towards the crowd. Zix-9 nodded, still somewhat bewildered by it all. I must admit, Ambassador, when you humans first suggested joining Galactic Society, this isn't quite what I had in mind. Chen chuckled. Oh, Professor, if there's one thing you should know about us by now, it's that we never do anything quite the way anyone expects. As if to punctuate her point, a cheer erupted from the crowd. Rodriguez had apparently won the match and was now being hoisted onto the shoulders of several anti-gravity beings, pumping his fists in triumph. All right, folks, he shouted over the din. Who's ready to plan the galaxy's biggest potluck? I'm thinking we start with appetizers in the Orion Nebula and work our way out. As the chamber once again dissolved into excited chatter and increasingly outlandish culinary suggestions, Zix-9 couldn't help but laugh. The galaxy would indeed never be the same, but perhaps that wasn't such a bad thing after all. After all, he mused as he watched a group of telepathic fungi enthusiastically discuss the possibility of psychic wine tasting. If this was humanity's idea of galactic diplomacy, maybe, just maybe, the universe was in for a treat, literally and figuratively.